non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session where you...
Let's talk about NXT, May 23rd, 2023. The conclusion of the NXT Women's Championship tournament. Well, the finals are at Battleground, and we'll do a Battleground preview and predictions. Okie dokie. How about it? So NXT was okay. It was actually somewhat good, but still some things for me to complain about. We started the show with 4 promos from Cora Jade, Tiffany Stratton, Roxanne Perez, and Lyra Valkyria. So Lyra talked about the fates had brought her and Cora Jade together again after their previous encounter. Cora Jade says that NXT it needs for her to be the champion. Tiffany Stratton talked about how hard it is being the it girl of NXT, and Roxanne Perez, of course, used the word dream, and then said that tonight is not about fantasies, it's about making history. So, let's start off with the women's tournament. Match 1, Lyra Valkyria defeats Cora Jade. Now, this match had the potential to be so much better than it really is. The finish was very anticlimactic. It was just kind of like round kick to the head, and then Cora Jade went down, and the match was over. And I was like, that's it? That's it? Yeah, that was it. Very unfortunate, considering I expected more from this match. Lyra Valkyria botched within 10 seconds. She slipped on the middle rope, and she was about to do a springboard from the middle rope, and she slipped. No good. That's no good. I remember Lyra Valkyria being better than she is in NXT. I remember her in NXT UK actually being pretty good. In NXT, she's not looking that great, if we're being honest. She's coming across like she needs more work. Cora Jade is coming along nicely. She's working on her promo ability, and she's getting a little bit better at her presentation in terms of selling her vocals with her body language, which is a good step forward. Yikes. Anyway, they're 1-1 in their series, so you know they're going to have a third match. After this match, Cora Jade attacked Lyra Valkyria from behind and hit her in the knee with the kendo stick, which is great, you know. Unfortunately, there was a one more time chant because the audience turned heel 25 years ago and decided that they were just going to, if you do terrible things to the baby faces, then they like it. You know, very weird. But it might just be that they like Cora Jade more than Lyra Valkyria, which they might. At least, you know, Lyra Valkyria has not been positioned as having a lot of personality. It has not been positioned in front of them much. She's been treated almost like a special attraction for some reason. Later, Lyra Valkyria gave a little bit of a medical update. Says her knee wasn't bruised or swollen. She'll rehab it throughout the week, and she will be ready for Battleground. When asked who would she rather have a match with, she says, usually people give a vague answer and say that they would want to have the best competition. But she says she wants to fight Roxanne Perez because to her, Roxanne is the best in NXT. And Tiffany Stratton proved that wrong. Tiffany Stratton defeats Roxanne Perez. So the finals are Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria. Now, Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez had a very solid match. I also expected this match to be better than it was. And I think when it comes to these matches, these women's championship matches or the tournament matches, that honestly, I'm going to go there. These matches were probably too short. They probably needed more time to breathe and cook. And so I think part of the reason that mistakes happen is when you're on a rush, and it may have felt like they didn't have enough time to do everything that they wanted to do. And my thing is, this broke the 5-match rule that I have on this channel. So you could have given these women more time. These are matches that probably needed a little bit more time because they're tournament matches, and you want to showcase why each woman got as far as she did and why each one of them will be a solid champion, and you want to get the crowd behind them. So these matches probably could have used a little bit more time. But Tiffany Stratton wins. She won clean, so she didn't even cheat. Not a fan of that. Again, if she's a heel, she's supposed to cheat. Tiffany Stratton's been beating everybody clean. which is fine for her, but it doesn't do shit for the babyface that she beat. After the match, Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria had a stare down. And then Roxanne Perez was going to the back, but she was attacked from behind by the hoodie thug, whoever this young lady is who keeps attacking all the female wrestlers in NXT. She stomped all over Roxanne Perez until Lyra Valkyria came over there and saved her. They actually need to make these people practice saves too, because they always looked out of place trying to save people. Like they don't come in hot. They don't come in like it's an emergency or anything like that. They come in pushing like, come on. It's like, you gotta come in a little bit better than that. All right. Hopefully we'll find out who the hoodie thug is, and hopefully it might be somebody interesting. I think it is. Some people are saying it's Mandy Rose now. I don't know. She's doing tag team photo shoots with Paige Van Zant. They're having a lot of fun. Tits out, wet, having fun. Why take bumps, But that tells me that, the money might be drying up a little bit. When you start sharing the platform, the money might be drying up. But I'm hoping it's Blair Davenport. I wouldn't be mad if it was Mandy Rose. I think Mandy Rose, but I think if you bring back Mandy Rose, you put her on SmackDown or something. I don't think you just put her back in NXT. That's just me though. Especially since her girls are still fighting. Like, why put her in the middle of that? All right, so that's the women's tournament. I think that the matches needed more time. Very unfortunate, but I think both matches were kind of rushed, and we could have gotten more out of those women if they'd have been given time to. And also, the heels needed to cheat more. But I actually like the Cora Jade attack. That was good, Give Lyra Valkyria an excuse when she ends up losing on Friday. That's a spoiler. Match 2, Axiom is destroyed by Dabba-Kato. This match featured at a 150-pound weight advantage, and Dabba-Kato being almost a foot taller. And still, somehow, Axiom managed to knock Dabba-Kato down to his knees. Having guys sell for midgets. I don't understand it. The beatdown continued after the match, even though it was a bit of a squash. Then Reggie popped out of nowhere to help Axiom. And somehow Reggie, who is about the same size as Axiom, actually was able to get Dabba-Kato to flee and go over the top rope. The crowd was actually very excited for Reggie. They were chanting for Reggie. I was like, everybody hated Scripps. But the crowd don't seem to dislike Reggie. They like Reggie. They didn't like Scripps. We all hated Scripps, but Reggie, he's fine with me. So Reggie helps up Axiom after he saved him. Axiom shoved him. Doesn't quite trust him. Not interested in it. The crowd is chanting "hug it out," and Axiom is not interested. Makes sense from a storyline perspective that Reggie has been screwing around with Axiom. Just because you took your mask off, now all of a sudden you're a good guy. No, I don't believe it. All right. So Dijak and Dragunov last week were in some kind of dungeon, and they were doing some kinky stuff down there that involved batons and a lot of sweating. And now Dijak was coming to the arena when he was absolutely assaulted by Dragunov, and Dragunov almost crushed his head with the shutter if it wasn't for all these officials that grabbed him and pulled him back. And they essentially fought several times throughout the episode, leading to them signing their hold harmless agreements at the end, where NXT will not be responsible if they get hurt in the last man standing match. And this match is just about who's got bigger balls, who's the toughest guy. And them fighting has been about solely that. Who's got the biggest balls, who's the toughest guy. That's it. There's no magic to this. There's no soap opera to this. Dragunov is like, I could take an ass whooping, I can give one too. Dijak's like, I like to give ass whoopings, but I can also take one too. And just, you take those two Hot Wheels cars and you bash them together. That's what Shawn Michaels is doing. They fight a little too much for me, but what can you do? Tony D'Angelo claimed he was an upstanding member of society as the police showed him a tape that was supposedly of him, but he claims it was dark and that you can't really, it's kind of grainy footage. He was also told that there was an informant. There is an informant in Tony D'Angelo's organization. Somebody gave the cops the tape. And I was like, oh no, there's an informant. Oh no, Tony D'Angelo. He got Donnie Brasco. Is that, I'm telling you, Stacks has got to be the informant, right? Stacks has got to be the informant. You know, it's got to be. Man, that would be great if he got Donnie Brasco. That would be fantastic. Later, Tony D'Angelo gets arrested. Now, they didn't tell us what he got arrested for, but he got arrested. I'm like, oh my God. They arrested the Don of NXT. They arrested Tony D'Angelo. Oh, this is great. I really want to know what the reveal is of who the informant is going to be. And we all know it's going to be Stacks, right? You know, Stacks has got to be the informant. Or maybe Two Dimes was the informant. He was fired about a year ago, right? And I think they said he was going to bring him back after a year. But it's just great. Or maybe it's somebody else that he did business with. They won't make it as obvious as to make it Stacks. Maybe it's somebody else. They alluded to it being Gallus, though. So Gallus were in the ring saying that they thought that Tony D'Angelo and Stacks wanted to challenge them. But, he seems to have gotten detained. And they said, I wonder who did that. And it's like, okay, so you're kind of just mocking the situation, alluding to it being Gallus. But, of course, we don't think so. We don't know if the boys from the pub are going to rat out Tony D'Angelo. Plus, where to get the tape from. You know, that's why it's got to be Stacks, right? Because somebody who had to be there in order to be recording this stuff. Okay. So they also claimed that the Creed brothers were going to challenge them. And the Creeds didn't come out. They didn't get any phone calls from the Creeds, according to Gallus. So the Creeds came out there, said it to their faces that they weren't going to challenge them. And then the fight ensued. 2-on-3, Gallus was beating the tar out of the Creed brothers when Stacks showed up to help the Creeds. This was very interesting. Because I'm like, why is Stacks out here? Why is he calling his own shots? What's going on here? Roman Reigns would not allow Stacks to call his own shots and do his own thing and go and start making deals with the Creed brothers. But that's what he tried to do. Backstage, Stacks tried to explain that it's better for the Creeds if he helps them out. They create a little bit of an arrangement. The Creeds thanked him for his help, promised him the first tag team title shot once they win the belts. But they're not trusting people right now. You know, they're going to stick with Ivy, which tells me that Ivy is going to end up biting them in the ass. And that she's going to be the reason they lose. I can just see that coming. But Stacks, of course, at least right now, doesn't know that Tony D has been arrested. So it's very interesting what he's going to do when he finds out. Going to have to get himself a lawyer. Maybe that's where Luca Cristofano is going to come from. Cristofano is an Italian last name, isn't it? Maybe that guy is going to be Tony D'Angelo's attorney. We'll talk about that guy in a minute. All right, so they did video packages for both Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, his video package consisted of the hometown hero going to do media, you know, Boston being the city of champions, and now he's among them. And they had pictures of like Kofi Kingston and John Cena. You know, and he's like, I'm among the greats now. The Boston Celtics, Bill Russell, Carmelo Hayes. There's no difference between the two. The Braun Breaker video package was all about Braun's bitterness that he carried NXT on his back only for the fans to turn their backs on him. He says, you know, I do all of that work, you know, put this company on my back just to carry it. Just to pass the torch to somebody I'm better than. He's like, no, I'm going to burn this bitch down. Then he says he's coming to Boston to dish out a massacre. Okay. I like heel Braun, but I don't think you put the belt back on him. But I like heel Braun. He's got it. He's in the right pocket, being sort of bitter babyface who was shit on by the audience, not really appreciated, and decided that, fuck this place and screw all of these people who, started to hate me for no reason. All I did was bust my ass for you, He also beat up Hank and Tank, which I thought was great because Hank and Tank fucking suck. And they had a bullshit match on this show that was a waste of everybody's time. They had a double cross body, and then Hank rolled over on Tank and pinned him. I'm like, both of these guys are too damn big for that to be a believable finish of this match. And then Brian Breaker, his new beard. Let's talk. His new beard, I like it. I like the beard. It makes him look more angry. Like he's so damn mad he don't shave anymore. That's what I'm talking about. You get so mad you keep a hatred in that beard. It's in there like a Cheeto dust and stuff like that. I like it. But Hank and Tank, they fucking suck. Who cares about those guys? Wes Lee is actually seeming like he's going to turn heel soon too, which is actually good for him because he actually got a character now. He's paranoid. He starts talking about how he really wish he could trust Tyler Bate, and that he needs to stop letting people get close to him. And it was his own fault essentially because he kept giving away all of these title shots. And they actually did a good job of setting this up with the Axiom thing. Because, him and Axiom would pop up on him at the airport and then follow him around all day. So it was a nice little setup here that people have been using Wes Lee in order to stay in touch with him to get title shots. So he says he needs to stop letting people get closer to him. Tyler Bate showed up, and Wes Lee was not interested in talking to him or, being friendly at all. He turned around and walked off. Tyler Bate says that the challenge for the title means nothing. They're still friends. And he still has nothing but respect for Wes Lee. Okay. If this was a singles match, this would work out fucking great. But it's not. It's not a singles match. Which makes this suck. Eddie Thorpe was defeated by Tyler Bate. Eddie Thorpe, I don't see what anybody sees in him. It's been about a month now, and I've been saying that pretty much every week. I don't see what anybody sees in Eddie Thorpe. I don't see what the big deal is. I don't know what EDM Tatanka is all about or why it's the way that it is. I also don't know why they decided to have a babyface versus babyface match with a babyface on commentary, basically denigrating Tyler Bate, talking about how he can't trust him and how he can't be trusted, and he feels like the man played him and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. Why? Why did we do all of that? Anyway, Tyler Bate wins, and he won pretty fairly clean. Okay. Afterwards, they were attacked by Joe Gacy. At least Tyler Bate was. Wes Lee got in the ring to try to help Tyler Bate. He ended up getting face down on the mat, too, and Gacy did the accursed hold the title in the air spot, which, if you do that and you're not the champion, the likelihood of you winning is minimal. In fact, the likelihood that you're actually going to take the pin is higher. So during the commercial break, they did this angle where Tyler Bate and Wes Lee were shoving each other. And as Wes Lee was trying to, I think Tyler Bate was trying to apologize or whatever, and he got shoved, and they were shoving each other back and forth, just kind of teasing heat between the two of them. And that's perfectly fine. I just wish this match was not a triple threat match. That's all, man. Damn. Next, Noam Dar is defeated by Nathan Frazer. An absolutely excellent way to showcase a new champion is to beat him in the second match that he's ever had on this show. Which is technically not true because he probably wrestled on NXT years ago. But Nathan Frazer wins with the Phoenix Splash as Dragon Lee distracted Noam Dar outside the ring. Just the shits. Look, I know this isn't the British rounds match, and that's really was supposed to be Noam Dar's specialty, but you would think this guy should be able to beat Nathan Frazer and win this match in order to maintain his momentum. Now, what does it mean for Dragon Lee to beat this fucking guy when he just lost this match? Like, do they think about these things when they do them? Or are they completely and totally retarded? Is Shawn Michaels back to popping that stuff? Please, Shawn, don't do what you was doing in Georgia, which apparently were incredible lines of cocaine. Stop it. Stop doing it. Think about these things before you do them. Don't have Noam Dar get pinned before the match with Dragon Lee, which we're all assuming Dragon Lee is going to win the title. Why in the world would you have Nathan Frazer beat Noam Dar? Now, the only option you would think is that Noam Dar is not going to lose the title. Instead, he's going to win. And then he's going to end up wrestling Nathan Frazer in a British Rules match. And I'm not sure if I like that idea. I would prefer it if you just gave the damn thing to Dragon Lee. They also had another video to explain the Heritage Cup to people again. Good. I don't mind that. That's a good idea. Some guy named Luca Cristofano has been he was an attorney apparently. And he tried to, I guess, sue Robert Stone for Von Wagner choking him. I think it might have been a week or two on NXT. And then he said he couldn't get it handled in court, so he's going to handle it in the NXT ring. So Luca Cristofano gets in the ring with Von Wagner, and the crowd reacts exactly how you would think to a Von Wagner match. There was some light snoring with a sound with crickets in the background. This absolute Cro-Magnon by the name of Von Wagner just cannot elicit a reaction out of these people. They have a fight scene, but it's basically just Von Wagner beating the tar out of Lucas Cristofano in this match. Cristofano creates some separation between him and Von Wagner, and then he goes over and starts harassing Robert Stone. He reaches inside of Robert Stone's coat and pulls out the picture of Von Wagner that they've been showing on TV, of him being sick or whatever. I thought Cristofano was going to tear it or rip it or ball it up and throw it on the ground or something, but just him being in possession of it made Von Wagner attack him viciously. Von Wagner was going to powerbomb him through the announce table, and then Robert Stone stopped it. And then Von Wagner was like, fuck, I'm going to do it anyway. And then he did it anyway. I don't think the table broke either. So I just think that Cristofano was just laying on top of the table, beat up. This is fine. This is the most reaction that Von Wagner's got in forever. So that's a positive. I'm not mad at that, I guess. They're still building this story with Von Wagner and his illness from when he was a child. This Cristofano, they definitely should have introduced him better. Him just basically being introduced as a ping pong ball for Von Wagner, it's not doing him any favors. But I'm guessing, I'm just going to make a wild guess, that since his gimmick seems to be that he's an attorney, and I'm guessing he's going to end up being Tony D'Angelo's attorney, and maybe be a new member of the D'Angelo family. I don't know. But he looks like he should be a member of Tony D'Angelo's family. They kind of look alike, believe it or not. All right. So the big segment of the night was the long promo between Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. And I got to tell you, this was probably Gigi Dolan's best verbal performance on NXT the entire time she's been there. It's probably been the best time she's ever had. I'm talking like facial expressions, vocal inflection, passion, verbiage. It all feels like she finally starting to catch up. It was still behind JC Jane, but it felt less forced this time, and it felt a little bit more natural. So from Gigi's perspective, she's talking about how terrible her home life was and how she felt like she really had found a family in NXT, and then JC Jane decided to break it up and ruined everything. Then she claims she's going to purge every ounce of hatred from her soul, or pain from her soul, whatever, onto JC Jane the next time she has a match with her. JC Jane said that she broke up Toxic Attraction because she outgrew Gigi and she was destined for bigger and better things. They sniped at each other about the first two matches that Gigi won the first one, JC won the second, but she got stitches in her head. And so now they got to have a third match. And Gigi ups the ante by saying she wants a weaponized steel cage match. And I was like, oh my God. And instead of doing this at Battleground, they're going to do it on NXT TV next week. Okay. I'm okay with that. I would have preferred if they'd have pushed like the tag team championship match in NXT and put this on Battleground, though. I don't want this match interrupted by commercials, you know? I don't know. But Gigi and JC finally going towards their blow off. I'm thinking this probably should be like loser leaves NXT, because how do they coexist? Like, how can they continue being on this brand together? This brand is not that big. You know, it's not like Raw or SmackDown where it's possible for you to have a big match against somebody and then you two never get into a contact for the rest of the year. I don't know if these two can coexist on this brand at the same time, you know. But I think this was a very solid segment. You know, JC Jane making sure she was far enough away. She has been, you know, repeating herself about why she's tired of Toxic Attraction. She's tired of carrying Gigi. You know, she doesn't need Gigi anymore. And Gigi clinging to this. And they actually gave you a good reason why she's clinging to this. Because she considered Toxic Attraction her family. And it's the first real family she's ever had, you know. So it makes sense. And I can appreciate it on that level. I appreciate it on that level. So this has been pretty good. So the Gigi and JC stuff was solid. The women's tournament was okay. I wish the matches were a little bit longer. Hank and Tank can fuck right on off and need to be burned. Tony D'Angelo getting arrested is awesome. It's tremendous. Not a big fan of Gallus anymore. They're not doing enough with these guys. No Mdar, Dragon Lee, poor Dragon Lee. You know, you helped this guy lose, and now you're gonna have to fight him again. It's stealing from you, and you helped them steal from you. All right, let's talk about Battleground now, because Battleground is Memorial Day, and it ought to be fun. So Battleground is hailing from Lowell, Massachusetts. It will be Sunday, May the 28th. This is a big weekend. This is a holiday weekend in the United States, Memorial Day. So Impact is running that Friday. WWE obviously is running Night of Champions Saturday afternoon. Then NXT and I think AEW Double or Nothing is running at the same time, if I remember correctly. I think they'll both be on at the same time, starting at 8. But the Wikipedia actually mentioned that, saying, quote, Battleground will be held the same day as Double or Nothing, a pay-per-view event produced by AEW and AEW's flagship event. This marks the first time since 1989 that two major wrestling promotions will produce major events head-to-head after WrestleMania 5 and World Championship Wrestling's Clash of the Champions 6. Well, I don't know if I would consider NXT a major event. I guess so. They're on the road, so I guess it counts as a major event. But it just feels like it's somebody who is trying to stoke the culture war, the wrestling tribalist war. Oh, they're running shows at the same day. It's like it's a holiday weekend, and everybody's trying to get their shit in on the holiday weekend. We trust me. Those of us who's going to have a 3-day weekend, you know, we're going to be able to get it all in. You know, we're going to be able to fit it all in at some point. Unless you're just like big on barbecuing, you're going to be barbecuing for 4 damn days. You know, you do what I do. We just make like nachos and stuff, which I might do for Night of Champions. Because I like making nachos for the pay-per-views, nachos and tacos and stuff like that. I don't like cooking. I might, you know, but you know, whatever. But it's a 6-match show, solid enough card, you know, with some weak stuff in it, but you know, it can't all be top level main event stuff. All right, match 1, Gallus versus the Creed brothers for the NXT Tag Team Championship. I think clearly Gallus wins. I just don't see the titles going to the Creeds. I'm thinking maybe Ivy is going to be the reason the Creeds lose. Either the hoodie person is going to attack her at ringside, and that's going to distract the Creeds, or Ivy's going to turn, and that's going to attract the Creeds, or whatever. But the Creeds are a very good team, but they're not going to give the Creeds the run. You know, like they need to have that Braun Breaker run where they're champions for like a really long time in order to establish them. And I really like the Creed brothers, but I don't think this is their night. Match 2. Wesley versus Tyler Bates versus Joe Gacy. Triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. All right, Joe Gacy feels like he's in this match to take the pin. Wesley is likely going to win. I wish it was just Wesley versus Tyler Bate, if we're being honest. I don't see why we need Joe Gacy. I get him being sort of the catalyst for Wesley's character change is fine, but I don't think we could have just had Wesley beat him and call it a day. I don't think Joe Gacy really is going to be the North American champion. Also, Wesley is now the longest reigning North American champion of all time, I think. Which says something, because he hasn't had any major feuds, no major character changes or character work. He's just been working wrestling matches, and it's been mostly open challenges, just no feuds, just none, which is unfortunate. But him being the longest reigning champion is actually very impressive, and is more than I expected when he won the title. But I do think he'll win this match too. I think that the big match is really him versus Tyler Bate on TV, when they eventually get there. And maybe even after Wesley loses, Tyler, or he turns heel. Or, maybe Tyler Bate turns heel. Both of them could use the heel turn, if we're being honest. But Wesley going into this match being somewhat paranoid and bitter about his friend challenging him for the title, that's good. That's good TV. I don't mind that. We could use a little bit more of that. All right. Match 3. Noam Dar versus Dragon Lee. British Rules Rounds match for the NXT Heritage Cup. For a long time, I expected Dragon Lee to win this match, because why wouldn't he win? He's still fairly new, and they have had a big problem on NXT recently of just bringing people in as just a guy. And they've been doing that under the Triple H era for a long time. Vince at least tried to make people feel special for a little while. God, these people come in and they immediately dissolve in water immediately. Like, Dragon Lee should have been on TV, undefeated. I know he is undefeated, but he's not featured. He comes out and he dresses like a guy who shops at Costco wearing a mask. It's like, no. Like, one of the greatest aesthetics that pro wrestler can do is suit mask. We all know how luchadors in suits just looks amazing. That's what he should be doing. He shouldn't be saying too much, shouldn't be doing too much. Just kind of be standing there watching. He also should be in the upper levels of the card, wrestling for either that North American title or the NXT Championship proper, and not for this silly British Rules belt. Like, why does he want this? He's Mexican. Why does he care about the British Rules? It's all about tradition. Fuck that. Why do you want this thing? What's important about this thing? You just don't like Noam Dar? Look, Noam Dar just comes across as a safe opponent for him to beat and win a title. But it doesn't benefit Dragon Lee for him to win this silly British Rounds belt. It doesn't really benefit him to win this thing. And it sucks for him to lose. But I guess that's just what it's going to have to be. I would rather Dragon Lee lose this match and then go on to wrestle for the more important belts. But I'm still going to pick him to win, because I still think he's going to win. Because that would mean the company cares about Noam Dar, and we know they don't. I don't know why he's still under contract. Look, I'm not saying I dislike him. I'm just saying I'm surprised that he didn't get cut. Of all the people they cut in NXT UK, like Rampage Brown and Zaya Brookside and a couple of other people, they didn't cut Noam Dar. This guy's been under contract since 2016. It's crazy. That's just crazy. It's amazing. He's on a JTG run. He's on he just doesn't answer the phone. He gets the calls, he just doesn't answer the phone. He gets the text, he just don't read it. He's like George Costanza. He's probably been fired 4 times. He just keeps showing back up. Who knows? All right, match 4. Ilya Dragunov versus Dijak, last man standing. Considering this match, the winner doesn't get anything, the loser doesn't lose anything, I think Dragunov is probably going to win. You would think probably the winner of this match is going towards the title, but which title? I think Wesley has beaten both of these guys already, and I think Carmelo Hayes has beaten both of these guys already. So I'm not really sure, but you would think this would be a top contenders match, and that it would matter a lot. But this is NXT, and that's not necessarily the case. It ain't necessarily the case that you win a big match and you get a title shot. I would imagine so. I'm still going to go with Dragunov winning, because I think ultimately they did the whole torture thing to show how much damage he can take, but they haven't done something similar with Dijak. So we've seen that you could tie Dragunov up like James Bond and kick him in the balls 100 times. You're not going to be able to beat him. But what about Dijak? Can Dijak handle what Dragunov was ready to throw at him? Pause. All right. Match 5. NXT Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria. All right, my pick from the beginning was Tiffany Stratton, and there's no need to change that. I've said before that it might be nice to have a babyface win the title, and because it's a tournament, and maybe you fuck her out of this thing later, like she wins the title clean, and then she gets screwed later on, and loses the belt. And I think that would be a hot way to do things for Lyra Valkyria to win. And then she kind of gets jobbed out in her first title defense. And it seems like that might be a nice little setup, because you do have a 1-to-1 with Lyra Valkyria and Cora Jade. So maybe Lyra Valkyria wins this match, wins the title, and then they have the rubber match between her and Cora Jade wins the belt from her. And I think that's a good way of putting the belt on Cora Jade. But also, I'm in a position where Tiffany needs to be the champion. I don't know who she can feud with, because I'm looking at the list of people and I'm thinking, okay, Gigi lost in the tournament. There's a lot of other people who already lost in the tournament. Who is there for her to wrestle? She just beat Roxanne Perez. Who else is left? Like most of the top level women either got drafted or, they're not focused on anymore. So there really is nobody for Tiffany Stratton to work with. They would have to try to make somebody. And there's plenty of people, there's plenty of raw material in the NXT locker room, like Fallon Henley, that if you actually, or Valentina Farice or something like that, where if you give her an opportunity, she might be able to get over, or if we do something slick, like decide to hold a breakout tournament, and, the winner of the breakout tournament is somebody who's going to be built up over a couple of weeks, and then they challenge Tiffany Stratton. But that's pretty much a clear-cut W for Tiffany, because that person would be fairly new. So I think the opportunity for storylines is greater with Lyra Valkyria. But I think that the right decision is to put the belt on Tiffany Stratton and then hope that you got somebody in place for her to wrestle, and maybe that will be Gigi Dolan. Who knows? So, match 6, the main event, Carmelo Hayes versus Bron Breakker for the NXT Championship. It makes sense for Carmelo Hayes to win in his hometown, to close things up with him and Bron, go 2-up on Bron. Bron winning the title right back would probably piss a lot of people off, if we're being honest. Not that I care about those people, but it says a lot that they put the belt right back on Bron Breakker. So something tells me they're not going to do that. Instead, they're going to have Bron lose, but they're probably going to cheat him again, and they're probably going to have one more match. That's kind of how it feels to me. It feels like they're going to do a third match but it's probably going to be a little bit more definitive so that Carmelo Hayes can't cheat and Trick Williams can't cheat and all this kind of stuff. I'm expecting Carmelo Hayes to win, but there to be some kind of fuckery involved. But they need some fresh blood in NXT really bad. Like, they brought in this Chris Stefano guy, and he just immediately gets glommed by Von Wagner, and, you know, you need to scoop him out of this joint already. They need somebody to come from the main roster down into NXT. They also need to push some more prospects. You know, I know that the Soul Ruka was a really good prospect for them, but then she went down. There's got to be somebody else, Mako Satomura, Blair Davenport, somebody. The women's division needs to be rejuvenated due to the draft fucking them over. And the men's division need bigger names in it for Carmelo Hayes to wrestle, or Brian Breaker to have people to deal with while he, you know, works his heel gimmick. And there needs to be somebody who's willing to do 90 days in NXT. You know, there's got to be somebody on the main roster. I mean, I could think of plenty of the women, you know, Dana Brooke, Emma, you know, I mean, you give them an opportunity to go down to NXT and be a big star and work with some of the younger talent, help them get over and come across as being somewhat of a star. And since you're in the women's division, it really helps, especially since they're not doing anything right now anyway. You know, why not do a couple of NXT matches if you're Emma or if you're Dana Brooke? If Dana Brooke wants to wrestle, this is a good place for it. It really helped Mandy Rose. It might do a world of good for Dana Brooke too. Or Lacey Evans, or somebody who's really underutilized in terms of the women's division, Raw and SmackDown. Send them down to NXT for a spell. You know, a good solid 3 months, 4 months, or whatever. And in terms of men, I'm trying to think of some, you know, maybe like a Ricochet or something. You know, it might be good for him to send him down to NXT for a little bit, just so he can get a run, you know, and help the TV and help the brand, because the brand was absolutely wrecked in the draft. They need help, you know, like this is a solid enough show up and down, and they don't even put all of their feuds involved with it, but they put quite a few of their feuds in it. But still, you're going to have a new women's champion who has no real credible challengers. And then you're going to have an NXT champion who doesn't really have that many credible challengers. So you definitely need some oomph. You need a little excitement. Somebody got to snap it to NXT. You know, need some help. All right. So the show is solid. Looking forward to Battleground. What say you? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.